somehow, some way, I think many of us knew that the hit pieces were going to start coming once everything going on with Kanye West and now Kyrie Irving were going to start coming down the pipeline when it came to the topic of quote unquote anti-Semitism. Because they have been trying to paint black people in this light, or well, not so much in this light, but in this frame for so many years. I think they've tried to do hit pieces before in the past, but they kind of fell flat. But now I guess they feel like they have everything at their disposal to use against us. So this is an op-ed, as you can see, it says opinion on Newsweek by this individual by the name of David Marcus. Never heard of him, but that's him right there in the picture. He said, it's time to talk about anti-Semitism in the black community opinion, which means everything that he's expressing right now is his own personal opinion, which means there's probably going to be little to no facts here at all. But it just screams hit piece. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article and stop in between where I feel like I have to insert my 2 cents. And I have a feeling that's going to be quite a bit. He said, there is no more dangerous third rail in American politics and journalism than anti-Semitism in the black community. He's already coming out swinging. He has already got everything locked and loaded and prepared to fire just on that first sentence. He goes on to say it is an issue that has mostly simmered in obscurity for decades for the very simple reason that it can be ugly to talk about. But we have to talk about it. With rapper Kanye West's recent anti-Jewish rantings, with basketball star Kyrie Irving sharing anti-Semitic movie trailers, and most importantly, with Haredi Jews now routinely assaulted in places like Brooklyn, New York, and that's news to me. Silence is no longer an option. See, he's painting a very broad brush, because now that they can talk about Kanye West and Kyrie Irving, now they are prepared to make that blanket statement over the vast majority of black people being quote unquote anti-Semitic. That is what they were going for. And the way this guy is seething at the teeth right now, he is foaming at the mouth. He probably was like smiling as he typed this up. The question is how to best combat the anti-Semitism that has lurked, not so secretly, within hate-spewing figures such as Louis Farrakhan, because they always bring him up. They hate him. And noxious organizations such as the Black Hebrew Israelites, sometimes such as the Al Sharpton incited 1991 Crown Heights pogrom that killed Yankel Rosenbaum. This anti-Semitism bursts out in the open and has lethal consequences. Kanye's horrific recent tirades have not come from out of nowhere. He didn't learn his bizarre conspiracies in a vacuum. These are vile lies that, and here is the painful part to say, have far too much purchase in certain segments of the American black community. Political correctness cannot stop us, though. These lies must be aggressively attacked, and there must be a concerted outreach effort to replace the lies with the truth. They about to start placing all types of people in the black communities to come and knock on our doors and thump us over the head with the Torah and try to tell us how, we are wrong. It's happening. It's about to happen. They about to be popping up more than the Jehovah's Witness. Thus far, our collective answer has been to ban Kanye West from a host of platform, to blunt, if not silence. Listen to that, to blunt, if not silence. They said, if we can ban you so far, but if we can silence you, we'll definitely go there too. The ancient and dangerous conspiracy theories he continues to virulently espouse isn't working. Just last weekend at a college football game in Jacksonville, the message Kanye was right about the Jews was projected by unknown individuals for thousands to see. West's huge influence cannot simply be swept away by mere condemnation. Those who believe him and those who follow him need a better option. I would like to know to this David Marcus, what is the better option? This is exactly what Rob at Blacklight Revelations was talking about when he covers these topics. Is they keep telling us what we need and what we need to do, but they don't tell us exactly what. They don't narrow it down. They just say we need to do this and we need to bow down to them, bend the knee to them. They're not outright saying it, but they're saying it, quote unquote. It is incumbent upon the rest of us to provide that option. Again, they don't tell you what the option is. They just say we're providing you something. To make matters worse, rightly or wrongly, the censorship of Kanye gives him a potent argument. It allows Kanye to say, see, I must be telling the truth, and that's why they silence me. And like Farrakhan before him, Kanye has found dark, fertile ground for his conspiracies in the empirical reality that there are a high number of American Jews prominently positioned in certain key industries. And the thing is, you know what, I'm not even going to go there because I feel like I've said that over and over again, but let me continue. It says such as entertainment, finance, and law, but instead of rationally explaining why this is the case and why it is not at all nefarious, too many of those who fight anti-Semitism refuse to address the quote-unquote disproportionate argument on the merits. That's a dangerous mistake. Now, here's the thing. If people question why that is, people like this David Marcus will still come out and say, oh, you're being anti-Semitic for even questioning why they are in the positions that they are in, or how did they get there, and be honest when we ask that question. How did you get in that position? Why is it that when we pull up a lot of these Fortune 500 companies, the vast majority of the people who are the head of them and even on the board are in the J community? If you ask those questions, they'll still give you that label of being anti-Semitic. So what's the point? At this point, it is pointless, because to have this circular argument is redundant. It's tiring and it's boring. They just rather us not question anything that they do. That's really all it boils down to. When Kanye says that most black celebrities he knows have some form of Jewish representation, it is possible that he is not exaggerating by a lot. And if you tell his followers that he is lying, they will not believe you. This is the warning that some black conservatives who have defended Kanye, such as Candace Owens and Jason Whitlock, have been sounding. The best disinfectant for anti-Semitism is truth and education, and we are failing on those scores, especially in the black community. Dog whistle. That statement I just read was a dog whistle. He was sending a dog whistle out to people in the J community to come and quote unquote talk to black people. Because see, the thing is, they are scared that the right message about them is getting out, especially to a younger group of black people. And they're scared that people are going to start finally pushing back against them with a force so hard that even they can't combat it. And the thing is, they have to keep that information at bay, almost like locked up in Pandora's box. You know, you're not supposed to open it because then something will happen. But they want to keep that information exactly where it is. Again, why are all these people like this David Marcus coming for people like Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, and others, when they don't come for places like Amazon when it comes to Kyrie Irving about that book or those books, because it was multiple volumes, and for that movie? Sorry about that. Had a call come in. But I'm trying to figure out, why do they not come for them? We know why, but I figured I'd ask just in case. Because there is a reason why they don't come for Jeff Bezos. Now, that stuff has been up on Amazon while Jeff Bezos was still the CEO of Amazon. And it's still there even with him not being the CEO anymore. I think he just has a regular board positioning. But still, they never came for him. But they said, you know what, we're going to come for Kyrie Irving, as if he was a producer on the film or played a part. He just shared it. And again, like I said before, many people have watched that movie and they all said that it's nothing anti-Semitic about it. But then you have these other people that said that it is, but they haven't even watched at least even 10 minutes of it. They going off the title. Let me continue. Many Jews and those adjacent to Jews badly overestimate how well those who are not Jewish understand that Jewish historical experience. Most church American Christians learn some ancient basics from the Old Testament, but then the next thing many learn about Jewish history is the Holocaust. This 2,000-year gap from the Middle Ages through the Industrial Revolution is precisely where many of the roots of Jewish success in certain segments of modern economy emerged. And why did that success emerge? Precisely because of persecution. In this period in Europe, now here's where I guess he's supposed to be giving us our lesson. In this period in Europe, Jews were very often not allowed to buy land. That sounds a lot like what black people went through for so many years, and in a way still going through today. But let's continue. They were also very often kicked out of their homes and regions at the drop of a dime. This naturally created incentives to pursue more liquid forms of wealth and income that could travel easily. That meant banking, that meant music, that meant the law, and so forth. When we leave out of that crucial part of the story, the Farrakhan Kanye-addled mind is much more likely to succumb to conspiracy. And what's interesting is about, let's hypothetically say what he said about what he just said is true. About everything that he just mentioned about them being kicked out and locked out of different things. When they were able to get in, they made sure to gatekeep it and lock it down where they couldn't bring anyone else in. Why didn't they extend the olive branch and help other groups? Now that goes into the narrative that when a lot of people talk about them being selfish and greedy. Because all they're looking out is for numero uno at this point. And you know, it is what it is. And that's why we over here in the new black media says B1, black first, because they understand what I guess they would classify as J1. They just never say that. Now, just keep this in mind. If you ever heard someone say J1, know you heard it here first. They were probably watching my commentary. But let's continue. True, the only people responsible for those pernicious theories are those who spread them, but that's cold comfort to the Haredi Jews being assaulted in Brooklyn. It doesn't make them any safer. New York City has twice as many Jews as any other city in the world. There is simply no excuse for any public school student, black, white, Asian, whatever, not to learn the story of this population. Now, pay attention to what he just said. He said that there is no excuse for any public school student, whether black, white, Asian, or whatever, not to learn the story of this population. First of all, the fact that he even threw PC in there, because you know what, I'm not even gonna go down that rabbit hole, because I feel like I've tackled that one a few times when it comes to the racial aspect about PC identifying as those in the J community and how a lot of people in the J community don't identify as PC. That's a whole nother mind blower in itself. But they said it's no excuse for any public school student who is, whether non-white or even PC, to not know the story of this population. And then they go on to say, just as we learn about and celebrate so many other ethnic groups, which I find interesting because I just did a video about this academy in New York that is a Hasidic Jew academy, all boys school, where they were taking and funneling all of this money. And when they were talking later on in the article, they were talking about some tests and how the curriculum in those schools doesn't really talk about anything outside of just them. And that's why when it came to testing scores, they failed immensely. As a matter of fact, they had some of the lowest scores, if not the lowest, in the entire state when it came to that test, or whoever was administered that test. And for him to say this, I'm like, there's a little plot hole in your narrative, because it sounds to me like they're not learning about other groups. They're only learning about their stuff, which is why that school failed on that test. Why their scores were like the lowest in the state or in the city or in the county. But we're supposed to just learn about your stuff and then whatever it is that you tell us. So you could be telling us a bed of lies and we're supposed to just learn those lies and go along with it as if it's the truth. Let me continue. He said, will this solve the problem on its own? Of course not. But could it make some young people less susceptible to crackpot conspiracy theories? Yes, when we fill students' hearts and minds with the truth. If you want to, you should have put truth in quotations, but it's an op-ed. So let's continue. He said, with the truth, we leave less room for vile hatred to take root. In addition to outreach in the schools, cities such as New York, where most of the anti-Orthodox violence occurs, need more programming. Need more programming. Interesting choice of words, David. Programming. To bring the Jewish and black communities together. Honestly, bringing those two communities together is exactly why the black community is in the shape that it's in right now, if you want to be completely and utterly honest with ourselves here. This is not unprecedented. Blacks and Jews worked hand in hand during the civil rights era. And there is no reason that cannot happen again. And we wonder why they are the ones that benefited the most from the civil rights era. There's your answer to your question, David Marcus, and why we cannot do that again. Because we see who benefited from it the most. The one that's complaining in this whole damn op-ed that I'm reading. This is a conversation that nobody wants to have, but that's just too bad. Now it sounds like he's wagging his finger. Avoiding this is not an option anymore. Actually, it's kind of easy when you think about it. All we got to do is ignore you. But they're going to hate that ignoring them. Then they're going to say, oh, you're being anti-Semitic. It was the great Jewish philosopher Maimonides. It's spelled Maimonides, who wrote, "Truth does not become more true by virtue of the fact that the entire world agrees with it, nor less so even if the whole world disagrees with it. That is not to say that is not virtue or mere opinion that makes anti-Semitic conspiracy theories untrue. It is the truth that does that. It is time for truthful conversations. Without them, nothing will change." And then it goes on into the end where it says the views expressed in this article are by the writer's own, whatever. But yeah, and I was looking at some of the comments, and it's like 12 comments that are here, and a lot of them are saying, dude, what the hell are you talking about? Like, really, what are you talking about? I'll say this, like I said before, I have my disagreements with Kanye West, mainly when it comes to the stuff that's pertaining to us. I think I've expressed that several times. Just have to express that again, just in case people try to say, oh, I'm hating on. No, it's what he says when it pertains to us. The off-code stuff he says when it pertains to us. Whatever he got the issues with them folks, that's on them. It's just us. Now it's like I said, it's gotten to the point where it's actually been at the point where people are asking, was he lying though? Same with Kyrie Irving. Was he lying though? And the vast majority of the people are going to say, no, he wasn't. People like this David Marcus, however, are going to say that they were. Then you ask them, okay, why do you believe that they were lying? You see, the thing is, pump them for information and with questioning the same way they would interrogate us. And I guarantee you, once you do that enough, you put on your detective's cap and you really get down to the nitty gritty, to the core, eventually you'll get to their underlying alternative facts, as Kellyanne con artists used to call it. Because again, going back to that film that Kyrie posted, none of them have come out and actually said what was wrong with it. They just said, oh, that's what it was. Because in their eyes, there's just no way that black people could actually be the real dim folks that the Bible speaks of. Now, I'm not going to turn this into a religious thing, so that's as far as it's going to go with me as far as talking about that book. But yeah, think about it. Every time they mention about black people being the real dim folks, they always get up in arms. Why does no one ever question that? Especially if it comes from another black person. They're like, how dare you infringe on what we got going on? We have done our best to keep this information from you, for you to come out or get out or step out of your lane and ruin everything that we have built up for ourselves, for you to come in and ruin that. Like I said, they, in my opinion, are no different than the Academy, because they do the same thing. You critique them, oh, you're phobic, you're transphobic, you're biphobic, you're homophobic, you're that phobic, you're this phobic. And you ask them how. Remember, they tried to say Genuine was transphobic because he wouldn't allow a trans woman to kiss him. They have it now where you have some men calling women biphobic because a woman won't sleep with or date a man who prefers both genders. I don't have to explain the homophobic one. That's pretty self-explanatory. They don't mess with them because, not because of how they live their life. It's because they be doing too much. Just like this David Marcus did too much and was an extracurricular activity through this op-ed hit piece that he wrote on black people. Because let's be real here, this op-ed was a hit piece on black people. He said it's time to talk about the anti-Semitism in the black community. He used Kanye West and Kyrie Irving, brought up Farrakhan as a means to attack us all. It doesn't matter. And apparently some attack that happened in New York. It doesn't matter what your age is. It doesn't matter your gender. It doesn't matter your sexuality. It doesn't matter if you have wealth, if you don't have wealth, if you work a blue or a white collar job. It doesn't matter if you're homeless. It doesn't matter. If you got that black skin, he was talking to you. He was talking to us, more like at us. And this is the narrative we have to push back on.